So moving on to the next caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
My name is Brad. I'm calling from New Jersey. So I've been following the rabbi for a few months. I just got one question for him. For salvation, we have to basically Judaize ourselves, like put on the Jewish names and Jewish culture and Jewish type of marriage rituals and everything, and believe that God created the world with Hebrew names and Hebrew people. Like he kept himself a Hebrew name. Yahweh is a Hebrew name. So should we believe all these things for salvation? Like, should we convert completely into Judaic culture and believe that the patriarchs, the people like Noah and his sons, his fathers, all kept Hebrew names? Basically, it's like elevating one particular culture and language above everything else. Even before Abraham realized about one God, even during Noah times, Noah might not be a Jew, but he had a Hebrew name. So how can we believe that people spoke Hebrew first? And why did God have a Hebrew name, Yahweh? And why not other name? Like, it's hard to believe.
Okay, so Rabbi, you got this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your call.
You're saying that it's hard to believe that the Hebrew language is holy, and Hashem would use the Hebrew language to convey eternal oracles. I confess to you that it's hard for me to understand this, because I would think of all the things that God did with the Hebrew language. He created the world. That is least surprising. As it turns out, we're told in Psalm 33, verse 6, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with his words. When Hashem created the heavens and the earth, he didn't take a screwdriver out and an erector set and build it. It says literally he said it, and it was. Vayhi or, and there was light. So the Hebrew language is a holy language. Now, what was created from that Hebrew language? All the heavens and the earth. Culture means nothing to Jews. There are Jewish people from the East, Jews who come from places like India and Afghanistan. They may have a different type of clothing, but our beliefs are united in the same. These culture issues are completely irrelevant in the Jewish faith. But Hebrew is a divine language. It's the language of Hashem. So therefore, it unlocks the secrets of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why the Torah has to be preserved in the Hebrew language. And that's why we're told in the opening passage of Joshua, V'higisa b'yom v'layla, that you should immerse yourself in the study day and night. And that's why the Torah we have today is the same Torah that you have in Yemen, and the same Torah you have in Sydney, and the same Torah that you have in Iraq, and the same Torah you have in Eretz Yisrael, and the same Torah you have in Canada. Hashem preserved it. I want you to think about this. Hashem used a very holy language to create the world. And it's not a geographic region of the world. Abraham was not Jewish, he was a Mesopotamian. You take a religion like Hinduism, which is a henotheistic religion. Well, what does Hindu mean? Hindu refers to India, where that religion emerged from. Judaism is a universal faith for the world. It's true that the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob have a unique covenant with God, as the Bnei Yishmael have a unique covenant. It's a different covenant, but they're both in a covenant that cannot be broken. There are special mitzvos, commandments, on the children of Israel because they have a special role. See Isaiah 49 verse 6, Isaiah 42 verse 6. Tanakh is very, very beautiful, but cultural issues are not relevant. The Hebrew language is an intrinsic language. I want to explain. The English language, you take the word light, L-I-G-H-T, right? Well, there's no relationship between that word light and what light is. It's just a name. One has nothing to do with the other. For whatever reasons, languages develop, and if you listen to the way the English language is spoken 800 years ago, you wouldn't even understand it. I could walk into the Israel Museum, look at Dead Sea Scrolls that date back 2,200 years ago and read it. Any religious Jew should read it in 1 second. We all read from the original. The closest thing I can explain what the Hebrew language is it's not a cultural issue, but literally built into the word is what it is. The closest parallel to that is the chemical language. So in the chemical language, H2O is the name for the water molecule. Water molecule in chemical language is H2O. But as it turns out, H2O is not only the name of the water molecule, contained in H2O is the atomic makeup of a water molecule. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen makes water. Do you get it? That means in H2O is water itself. Now, the truth is that the word hydrogen, the word oxygen are, of course, made up names that would develop. They have nothing. The word oxygen has nothing to do with what oxygen really is. But I'm using this as a very important, at least even understanding. So, when we look at the word or, that's not a word that just represents light. In that word or is light itself. When the word or went out from God, literally light came out of the word. Do you understand that? The Hebrew language contains the fundamental building blocks. And that's why it can't change. Imagine what happens if you just alter one atom. One chromosome. Forget it, it's all over, right? So what happens is that the world is on a knife's edge. Everything is perfect. Everything. The gravitational forces, 85% of the gravitational forces in the universe cannot be seen directly. Dark matter, we know it's there because of the effect it has on celestial bodies. We can only infer its presence, but contained in all of creation is in the Hebrew language, is creation itself. The anti-gravitational force, which is so tiny but so necessary for the perfect fine-tuning of the whole universe, for it to move exactly perfectly. If you changed the very tiny amount, this whole universe, we could not exist. This conversation could not occur. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, so it's perfect. Everything is perfect. So just like the universe is math, it's numbers, it's the mind of Hashem, the Hebrew language contains not a culture. It's not a culture. It's not an ethnicity. But the letters, interestingly, whereas Jews of Yemen or Jews in other parts of the world may have a slight different accent in pronunciation, we all have the same letters. The perfect Torah, perfect Torah, so Hashem. And the Torah literally contains the map of the world, the atomic makeup of the world, the subatomic, everything is in the Hebrew language. This is what Hashem used to create the world. So please divorce any concept of culture, ethnicity in our conventional sense from this. Hebrew is an intrinsic language, and it's more intrinsic than the chemical language, because whereas the chemical language does convey the atomic makeup of molecules, for example, but the words that are used, hydrogen, which I think is the most plentiful atom in the universe, carbon comes in later, but those words, carbon, hydrogen, these words are just words that people made up. But the concept is the same. So Hebrew contains the map of the world and how the world was created. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the word, and from that, literally, it came out. Anyways, thank you for that very, very interesting question. Shalom.
אדון עולם אשר מלך ותהילה